Welcome to Academy of Tone 238. Well, this was a pretty strange version of Cocaine, but I was using a couple of different pedals here, and they all do kind of weird things, which I would like to explain in this episode. The theme is, how do our iconic guitar heroes create their tones? And is it only the guitar and the amp, or what is the recipe for a great tone, and what are the factors that we should consider to optimize our tone, and how to get to maybe the next level in the combination? So what I have set up here is a beautiful switcher by the Gig Rig, the Quartermaster, and I can simply choose one of these configuration of pedals here. This is everything on bypass, which means guitar straight into amp 1. This time I was using the clean channel, and I put everything like on 10. Clean on 10 and boost on 10, which is kind of sound that is it's already over the edge of breakup. It's more than just clean, since I wanted to have that old school cranked, whatever, Fender-y, Marshall-y kind of sound. But we have to consider that it can all depend on your amp, which means you can have a totally clean amp, you can have an amp at the edge of breakup, or you are one of those Marshall guys that already has a crunch or overdriven tone, and you add some pedal to get even more of what you want. And so these three different cases are very important. For the starting point, I was just using this setup here. Let me show you how that sounds. as you can hear, it is already on the edge of breakup. So all these pedals are switched off the signal path. This guitar goes straight into this Quartermaster here, as you can see, and the output goes straight into the amp 1 with this kind of setting. So let me show you what happens once I engage a fuzz face. So this is what we get without anything, kind of a hot driven loud amp. Aha! So for me, this turns a rather boring sound into something really exciting once you understand what you get from it. Of course, it is that fuzz face muddiness we have here, but what happens when I turn down the volume on the guitar is that magic clean tone you get without switching any channel. It's just the clean on the volume on the guitar. So let me switch to a Marshall cabinet here. Okay, a little noisy, but that's your Hendrix fuzz face experience. Okay, the next in line, same sound. Rangemaster. Okay, noisy, but again, it enhances the range. It gives you more drive, and it gives you a super nice, clean sound as well. Just without it, you know, super boring. And then very nice focused mids, you know, vocal focused mids. And then when you turn down the volume, you have the super sparkle. Brian May and the Queen sound and Ritchie Blackmore and the Deep Purple sound would not exist without such a pedal. It's part of what they used to be iconic in their tone. So I find this as exciting as the Jimi Hendrix experience with the fuzzface. So the Rangemaster treble booster experience is the same thing. What happens here, you can tell there's a lot less bass. And a very focused mid-range push. And then of course the clean-up thing. This Rangemaster is probably a bit too nasal for the later sounds that Ritchie was using with his Ivar tape machine preamp. I have very beautiful copies of that by Bernd Meiser, BSM. Hold on one sec. This one, for example. But the point is that such a device, you know, this way. Such a device brings you in the zone of what is needed for that classic Ritchie tone. And, you know, even with this super old original Rangemaster, you can already tell that's part of his iconic sound. Okay. Number 3. I have a beautiful pedal by Effectrode. It's a UK company, and this is a simple tube booster that could be also a preamp of, let's say, a Echo or anything that was existing in the past. It is not creating overdrive, it's just a boost. It has tons of dBs of boost on tap. It has a tone control, and I simply like it. I show you why. So bypass. What I like about this pedal is it does not have that super honkiness or the super low cut of the Rangemaster treble booster. It's a little bit more neutral, even though I increased a little bit of the high end for that kind of setting now. I'm using different settings with different settings on the amp, of course, but I wanted to have a rather boring starting point so we can feel and hear the excitement that we get from the pedal when they are engaged. So that's a beautiful, I would say, clean boost. Just for fun, I can compare this. Wait a minute. I do this in the... No, let's do it now. I get rid of my Rangemaster. Now there comes the next pedal. Yeah, let's get rid of the fuzzface and out here, and we are using now Guitar Slinger Alex Bayreuth pedal, and this should also do the job. And now we can compare. I mean, that's kind of funny because this is solid state and this is all tube. And I love them both, honestly, because yeah, they kind of squeeze out more character out of the amp by being neutral themselves, adding just the gain in a very how I would say, in a very neutral fashion. So they kind of enhance the amp by being neutral. There's several ways how you can get there. This is the end of the range from the burn factor. This is on 10, which is a lot already. Sorry, this was the Fire Bottle. Back to the RB 1011. So now we come to the territory of subtle differences, and we're talking boosters now, and boosters have been a passion in my life for many years. I have bought so many boosters. I have piles of boosters here, and what I wanted to show you with this is, like, there are pedals that do a similar thing and I'm getting addicted to those, and I have to buy both because there's this little extra sparkle here at this setting. Oh, sorry, here. You know, but when I crank the whole thing to 10, I think the Guitar Slinger now is a little bit more aggressive, you know. Hey, these are the things you can judge on the second level once you are in a certain territory of boosters. Okay, I show you something else. Completely different story here is pedal number 4. The diamond compressor. So this is a compressor. With EQ, so as the sound was a little bit boring, I added some high end. I put the EQ, which is kind of a balance EQ, towards the treble. So what happens here is a compressor is controlling the dynamics, kind of the amplitude or the volume of the signal. And it's a different thing than pushing the signal over the edge of clipping, of overdriving the amp. So this is why it's rather clean. I mean, remember that the amp itself was already breaking up. But compressor so it limits the signal so it doesn't exceed that range where it's really getting into a clip. So it's tamed at this point, and then it adds sustain, because once the signal of the guitar is kind of shrinking, it boosts that signal. So I have a bit more. Versus and also this kind of compression makes us play differently. If I would go to a total clean sound with no compression at all, which we can do later, it's a weird thing to play that sound. It has so much dynamic that it doesn't feel like the electric guitar. It feels like an acoustic guitar, which is kind of okay if you do arpeggios and things and you try to balance them out. But the moment where you try to play, you know, your Gilmour stuff, Shine on Your Crazy Diamond, solo line, you need compression, because otherwise it feels totally weird. You would not play that kind of line without having any compression. And his sound is totally clean, but the compression gives him the feel to do that things. And to me, David Gilmour is the master of the compressor. In my opinion, he understood what you can get from compression. And I heard that he is even using sometimes two in series to have one compressor pre-compressing the signal, sending that pre-compressed signal into a second one, which gives them even more compression. But you know, it's like gain stacking with different gain stages that are clipping. He's doing the same thing with compressing signals in different pedals, and they all have a slightly different point where they grab the signal and work with the dynamics. Okay, so this was number 4 again. Number 5 is the good old tube screamer. Back to the Fender style cabinet. Of course, that's a sound. Stevie Ray Vaughan used these, or tube screamer style pedals, or sometimes even two cascaded. Again, stacking. What happens there is basically it's an EQ curve. It reduces the low end, and the clipping of the tube screamer itself is set to like minimum at the moment. It's not about the tube screamer doing the overdrive. It's more like tube screamer focusing the signal to a mid frequency signal that gives you that typical sound. Okay, the message is such a pedal brings you already in that zone. I'm still on the same amp settings here, I haven't changed anything. It's kind of that rather boring, not dialed in, clean on the edge of breakup sound that has not too much character by itself. This will increase in character once you dial in the amp as well towards that thing. But that whole section here is just to show you what we can get from pedals as they guide us into a certain direction. Okay, next thing here is a pedal, the DS1. It's a pedal that is well designed as a classic overdrive or distortion, with not much gain. Dialed in, it could also be used for blues, it's like, okay, DS1. Similar effect to the bass, compare the bass. Tube screamer. Okay, it has a little bit more low end, but now this pedal offers clipping by itself. This is why it's called distortion. Let me dial in more distortion. You know, even with that clean channel and this not dialed in properly, the same sound that I used for the blues and everything, Clapton and whatnot sounds, this pedal by itself brings you already in that kind of rich overdrive territory. If I fine-tune everything now in the next level, you can hear how far we can even get with this. Okay, next pedal in my arsenal is number 7, and this pedal is the Solo Dallas Storm. Okay, mind that we are on this rather boring sound. I know that you heard way better AC/DC style sounds from this amp 1, but I wanted to have that boring sound as a reference to show you what the pedal is doing, okay? So mind, this is our starting point. There's no real punch, there's no oomph for the AC/DC, and now the fullness is missing. It's not about more gain or anything. It's just not as rich and full as it could be. See, this sounds just like a joke. This sounds totally non-AC/DC. It's a Strat on the, you know. There's no rock of AC/DC. So that pedal enhances a lot of that feel you get from, well, your setup. And trust me, when you dial in your amp towards that target sound you want to get and use that as the extra spice on top, then there's the magic. I mean, this is the theme of today's episode, is what makes a perfect guitar tone and how we can refine it from that level to the next level. One more is number 8, and I used my good old trusty Replex. It's an Echoplex. This one here, maybe the camera can still show it. We all know my favorite tube-driven delay pedal. So you can hear the delay as well. bypass. Okay, anyway, let's switch for the tube only, get rid of the delay, and I want to show you what the preamp can do. Okay, a little hum here, but I like that punchy, full, tubey sound that I get from this pedal, especially when I combine it with my personal settings. It just makes my Strat a little thicker and bigger and more overtones. Yeah, maybe let me explain what is actually happening in all these pedals, devices. Some of them we call fuzz, some of them we call boosters, some of them we call drives, compression. For me, they all do something to the signal. And in my world, in technical terms, these are the three elements that I can work on. If I want to process a signal, I can go and change frequencies. I can change the EQ. This is what we had with the Rangemaster, you know, that kind of mid-focus and that get rid of the low end kind of thing to tighten up, saturation, and then also enhancing the high-end treble boost style when rolling back the volume on the guitar. But that's EQ. Some things happen in the interaction of the input of such a pedal like the Rangemaster and your guitar. Sometimes it's just an EQ pedal that has a static frequency change, like different roll-off of bass, like a low cut or a typical blues sound coming from a tube screamer with a certain frequency curve that boosts mids around whatever 700 hertz. Okay. Another element is the compression element. We had this kind of in the diamond compressor, showing that the amount of dynamic can be dialed in with such a pedal. And what happens in the dynamic is you can avoid clipping by getting underneath that clipping point, and you can enhance sustain without having overdrive. In its puristic form, this is what a compressor is doing, but most of the time you use such a compressor with a sound that might be slightly overdriven, and then you control the breakup as well. But in a very, very puristic way, like David Gilmour, Shine on Your Crazy Diamond, this kind of compressor is only volume and dynamic and has nothing to do with drive. There is no drive in that sound. It's very, very clean. Okay, and the third element is the drive. Of course, when you have a saturation effect on your amp or on your pedal, that is clipping the dynamic, and that makes it having some kind of compression. It's a trade-off of how much drive you get and how much, and it comes with compression. So a compressor gives you the option of dialing in compression without having its own overdrive. A booster sometimes does a little overdrive or a little clipping by itself. Let me show you. Maybe I can find this here on my computer. This is what is happening when you have a, wait a minute, whoops, let's make this wave small. So this is, can we see that? So that's the sine wave. The sine wave is, let's put it between those two lines. This is what's happening when your string is vibrating, okay? And when it's within the range of like the circuitry not clipping, which are these two lines here, it's clean, it's a sine wave, it doesn't change the shape, and it will sound at a certain volume. And of course, when you hit the string, it's loud, and as you know, a few milliseconds or seconds later, the signal is shrinking because your string is getting weaker and weaker. So the excursion of the string is getting weaker, and so the excursion of the signal is getting weaker. Okay, so this could look like something like this, you know, so it's shrinking and then boop, it's silence, okay? And then you hit the next note, it's okay. So, but what is happening once you exceed the limits, this is still pretty round. It's what's called soft clip. But when we get to the super max, you can see this gets flatter here on top, and this is still pretty round. But when I get the whole thing shrinking, it's getting more and more square. And that's more hard clip. This is what we call a hard clip. Okay, back to the good old clean sine wave. And this is the typical tube saturation that we get here. And you can see there's still a lot of volume, a lot of excursion we get in the signal, with more signal coming in. This is what I do with my slider here. And then you can see at a certain point, it's still round. It struggles to get a hard clip, but and it's getting still louder. And that's something that tubes do by nature, more or less. And once I reduce the headroom, it's getting flatter, and it's getting also a little bit sharper. And by the way, this is what Eddie Van Halen was doing with his Variac. He was just reducing the voltage. Oops. Okay. This is automated. So see, this is full volume, and this is like shrinking of the headroom by reducing the incoming, the AC voltage. And you can see that the shape of the curve is getting flatter. And this is something. When the curve is getting flatter, you have different overtones which are created by the change of the sine wave. The sine wave changes the form, and this is what gives you a different overtone. Overtone is something that we hear, we are very, very sensitive to overtones. And we are very, very sensitive to this kind of saturation that we get. And playing with the signal, like I just showed you, this is what's actually happening in all our beloved pedals and amps. Yeah, so I think we also have a few other graphs here that I can explain, so maybe you get an idea of what signal processing is. So in this graph here, we can see there's an input signal that has a certain range, which is probably more, and then the output signal is slightly less. And that's something you will get from a compressor, for instance. And it could be more dramatic that you have a lot of signal at the beginning, and then once it's decaying, the output signal still stays at the same like volume. Okay, what else do we have here as graphs? You see compressed signal versus limited signal. In this graph, you can see the top graph, which shows you there is in the middle a loud signal, and in the second you can see the difference is that the lower part of the signal at the beginning, at the end, is kind of the same volume, but when you look at the middle graph, the compressed signal reduces the amplitude, reduces the loudness of the loud part. And by doing that, you would have less signal that you would send into your amp, which leaves your amp cleaner. But you still have the sustain, because this lower signal is just the same volume. And therefore, you kind of move to a range with less overdrive, with less distortion, but with the same amount of sustain. Versus a limited signal, we know there's limiters in the studio, especially in the old days, you needed that for the vinyls. And of course, you needed to make sure that certain devices never clip at all. And in the master of your mix, you also have to have a limiter, because you are not allowed to exceed anything like that. That didn't work in the past with the analog, and it does not work in the digital world because it sounds totally sick. So therefore it's a limiter. But in the guitar, we love to have a natural dynamic. So we just want to modify the dynamic a tiny little bit towards our liking, not controlling it and making it totally flat, because that again would sound boring. We have another graph, I don't know, and here you can see a very good picture of a hard clip. So if you see the sine wave, which, you know, number one, normal, and as long as the sine wave is exactly within the limits of the it could be the voltage of a tube, the headroom that we have. It's like where the red line is, this is the limit. And once the signal is louder, which is number two, the top of the signal, which used to be round, is hard clipped, because there is nothing more. It cannot like project, or it cannot give you that extra volume, extra excursion needed. So this is where it starts to clip. And in this picture you can see it's flattened very sharp. And this is what we call a hard clip. And because we have now two edges on the signal, these are the overtones. And this is something you will definitely hear a lot. And this is the foundation of anything we have here in a tubescreamer, distortion. Some of the pedals have a rather rounder clipping, like I showed you in the curve on my laptop before. And the distortion, the DS1, I'm very sure it has a hard clip, just like we have seen in this picture here. And so I would call this the technical spices that we can use when a designer creates a pedal but maybe it's helping you also to understand a little bit that there are different spices, that there is something like compression, there is something like EQ, and there is something like clipping. And then of course when we go on the next level of each of these three, let's call it dimensions, we know the EQ can be static, just like a graphic EQ that you use to dial in a certain frequency more all the time, or it can be something that reacts to your guitar on the volume control. So there is, again, in every of these categories, there can be more things happening, and that in the end is creating the magic. And it's spices, and by the combination of these kind of spices you can create your perfect tone. And it of course all depends on the quality of the basic sound already of your amp, because your amp also does overtones, also does compression, your amp already does EQing. I mean, if you have just a flat amp, it sounds totally boring. This is what I was showing you when I was showing the different guitars with the different pickups straight into the mixing console with like nothing in between. I had only a buffer so that the pickups sounded, they felt, the pickups themselves felt like, oh, I'm plugged into a high impedance input. I'm a guitar. I feel guitar. And this tube screamer I used for that was on bypass, but this bypass here is buffered, and the buffered bypass lets the guitar shine at least, and then that's the sound you get. But an amp has already extra EQ and clipping, and there are some videos out there by, I think it was Stephen Lill, that was explaining, yeah, it's only pre-EQ, an EQ for the clipping stage and a post EQ, and that's all you need. And it's okay, because that is again the first level we can get, and you can get somewhere. But when we are talking exciting guitar sounds, there is another level, and there is another level underneath that level, and then it's getting very complex. And this is something I hate to see these days, that people try to simplify things. I'm not against simplifying things, but when it comes to the point that you come up with a theory that tells the guitar wood does not matter at all. We have a few guys having videos on that, clickbait videos that are sensational, you know, it's all a lie. I mean, Steve Lill is one of them. On the one hand, I like to demystify things. On the other hand, we still should respect that there are things that maybe these people don't hear, don't understand, or maybe don't even want to understand, because they found something and they think this is everything. What I learned in my life is, sorry guys, there is always more. There is another dimension. In the moment I have the feeling that this is everything, I know everything, this is the end of the journey, and this is the end of creating quality, because you are stuck there. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in formulas, that I don't believe in physics, and I believe in all of that, but I still have a lot of I don't know what's the right word, dignity, or appreciating the things that I don't understand yet, you know, because, you know, we believe we know everything, but hey, the universe, there is more. We have not been there at the next solar system, and there is a lot of things, even with our bloody simple woody electric guitars from last century that excites us, and we can find formulas for that string length and blah blah blah, and that pickup makes it sound. In if that formula is right to give you the 90% of that, it's already a good formula, and we should respect that achievement. But the moment we go there and tell the world it's 100% like that and nothing else matters, we do the biggest mistake. And that's my philosophy. And trust me, I have been there in my 20s where I thought, we have it. You come back the next day, the next week, and the next month, and I think, oh, wait a minute, maybe we have 80%, or maybe we have something, but something is missing. So, this is the thing about the respect we should have for the things. And this is not me mystifying life. I'm so happy if I can demystify things, and if I have the chance of measuring things to back up things that I do hear. But sometimes I hear things that we cannot measure in the way yet, and we are working on things, how to understand things and how we can actually measure it. I'm so happy about getting to the level where we have a consistent way of analyzing things using measuring equipment, as long as it's not cheating us. And that's the big trap we can get caught so easily. It's like, I know how it is. This is a 8 ohm speaker. 8 ohms, yeah, Gleichstromwiderstand. But it's not an impedance curve. And once you get to this level, everything gets way more complex. And all I'm saying is there, respect, and don't fool people by simplifying things. It's good for a generalization, and it has a good use, but the moment you say it's only black and white, biggest mistake ever. By the way, with everything in life. Horst Keller. Hey, Horst is in the chat. Thank you, Thomas, especially for all your heart and love you are putting into everything. Yeah. By the way, guys, I was at Horst Keller's live stream what was it? Thursday, last week. I think so, yeah. And if you haven't seen it, it's in German. Horst Keller is a VIP. He is in the chat. A guitar teacher, online course. Very, very good, sweet guy, great player. We go back when he was the Line 6 demonstrator. And if you have not watched our episode, if you do speak German, go and watch it. 10,000 views, I think we have so far, or he has on his channel. Check out his channel. And it was a great... it was a great live stream and a great hang, and the conversations, some on camera and off camera, are even better. Okay, some people agreed to Horst here. Olli P, I should meet Professor Zollner. Yes, that's somebody that I already met, honestly. Haha. But this goes back 15 years ago when he was still working at a university in Regensburg. And I even have his book, and he is somebody that I respect on the one hand, but he is also the guy I'm referring to being a bit too bold, and which is dangerous. I kind of enjoy his videos. Sometimes I do my cycling on along the river, and I'm listening to his episode, whatever, and he talks about the Vox AC30 and how that works and things. But there's a few things I totally disagree. It's the tone wood, and it's trying to simplify a few things, which I cannot subscribe. I give you a very, very simple example. If wood would not matter, why do I have to keep all my BluGuitar master builds? These guitars use the same pickups, manufactured by the same guy, with the same specs measured. We are talking really measured frequency curves with the same components selected. I'm selecting the volume and the tone pots and all that stuff, and I know how important that is. And we can actually measure the electronics of these guitars. That's something I will probably do in the very near future, or you know, and then using the same hardware. You know, it's all Trevor Wilkinson's Year One bridge and the same pickups. So pickups, hardware, and then the guitars still sound different. Tell me what it is. It's no mojo. It can only be the wood. And here is another thing. Just today, I was working on a cabinet for BluGuitar, and the baffle, the wood thing where the speaker is mounted to, I have made out of 5 different kinds of wood. And it's unbelievable how big that sound is. And this is just wood. It's fucking wood. It's not the whole cabinet. I just changed one thing, this one frame of wood where the speaker is mounted to, into different styles of wood. The same thickness, by the way, just different styles of wood. Tremendous difference from hollow and unhealthy or no low end to, yeah, I'm strong. I sound same speaker, just changing one plank of wood in the cabinet makes such a difference. If you don't believe, I will demonstrate one day. So this is my experience, and this is why I'm still curious to find out about the difference. I don't have the formula for wood. I'm not the expert. Maybe somebody knows the resonance and comes up with a formula how to measure that, and we find a material that has the same parameters and then would replace it, and the formula works for that, fine. But at this point, I just have facts. One fact is wood changes tone. Bam. I learned this just today. Again, I knew it, but today I did this experiment, and this is like unbelievable important. Yeah, and I see in the comment, wood is the most alive thing in the instrument, and especially the neck. This is like, but this is, hey, this is like my personal theory. I should not talk too much about what I think and believe, because I know it's maybe on a certain level and it's not perfect. And I respect that, so I keep certain things for myself and keep it open. That's the point. If I close the book and say, this is how it is, there's only one E minor, or A minor, it's here. No, there is this one, and there's this one, and there is this one, and we can even play it in this range. Yeah. So, and maybe you find another voicing of it. It's 3 notes that define that chord. And you can go to the theory, but some guy will probably play here. Okay, this is still playable with your fingers, but the next guy will do a tapping here and there, and that's still A minor, and nobody has ever done it, and it sounds different. So be open and let new experiences have their place as well, because we are not finished yet. Maybe some people think they are finished. I'm not finished, and this is MX. We are still working on it, because there are still some things that needs to be perfect or better. Perfect, it's a personal thing. They need to be perfect for me. Okay, back to the topic here. There is, as we could see, different kind of pedals, and they all get you somewhere in a different direction. Okay, we could make a few more examples on things like, let's do a different sound here. Let's go and have the clean sound to a more, everything's on bypass here, okay. Traditional clean sound. I just decrease the volume here, put it to 7. So, with this kind of proper clean sound, no? I switch on the Rangemaster and I think it will sound shit. For me, it's losing something, you know, it's over the top. And another pedal, for instance, I go for the Fire Bottle. Still is doing the job. And by the way, let's compare this to the Booster RB 1011. Similar and still nice. Yeah, they work. So what is the lesson here is some pedals only work in certain conditions. And that's why I love my friends of That Pedal Show. But maybe you have noticed that they always use the pedals on a clean platform amp, which is a thing many people do, which works fantastic. But what they are missing out is what I have done previously to this on an amp that was on the edge of breakup and really, you know, starting to saturate. So why are they doing it? Because they want to make sure that everything is happening in the pedal, or everything is wrong, but I mean most of the thing is happening in the pedal, and therefore they want the amp to have headroom, not clipping, not on the edge of breakup, and a wide frequency range like that. So with that kind of setting, different pedals have different magic. Some of them lose and others win. And that's, I think, a very important point. So when you find a pedal that works for you, it depends on the situation where you have used it. A different situation requires probably a different pedal. There are a few general things that I do like, and therefore I like a few pedals more than others because I have my range of tones, and certain pedals can do that, like the Fire Bottle, for instance. I can work with that Fire Bottle a lot. Rangemaster is now out of the... So with that pedal now I have even options to have less boost. Okay, now I can even use the tone control on a different setting. So what I'm doing right now is getting my amp 1 boosted, even boosted one more time, which is something I like, which is gain stacking, but now with subtle. We learned about the clipping here. I have a little bit more here and a little bit more here, and so I don't have this volume on 10, but I have like every stage is nearly clean, and that's what that's simply too clean for me, for my feel that I. Okay, so the fire bottle was one option. I'm already in this kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan feel. Let's see what the tube screamer can do. Tube screamer. Okay, this sounds too harsh to me, so I go and have a little less tone. Oh, no. Remember, this was the distortion, Satriani. Okay, now on a real clean channel with that setting, you can hear hard clip. Maybe when you remember the picture for the hard clip, it's like. I mean, this sounds totally crap. And maybe that's the reason why, for instance, that pedal show would not like that pedal. Of course, I can get decent sounds out of that, but just to show you, that lousy pedal comes alive just by changing to overdrive. So that's the amp. I didn't tweak the EQ here, okay? I just wanted to show you the dramatic difference of an overdriven amp to a clean amp with the same pedal, and didn't change the settings here. So this is bypass. So Satriani is not living, or why they are not living yet. Sounds like good old classic rock from the 70s. But then give it some extra gain. Okay, this is maxed out or dramatic, but you can tell. legato. I mean, even with a Stratocaster, no humbuckers, but we are already there. I go back to my clean sound and it sounds like total shit. Ouch. Okay? So what is the lesson that we can learn from this? Certain pedals need a certain combination. They need a different amp foundation. And I didn't even change guitars or anything, but it's like, you know, some pedals are made or are magic with overdrive and shit in clean. So therefore, when you watch that pedal show, if you are the guy that has a clean pedal platform amp settings and you do everything with the pedal, that's the perfect show. You know, it's much better than this what we are watching here, because I'm tempted to get always a slightly different on the edge of breakup sound, because that's me. And again, here, this is like professor or whatever discussion. We are different and we have different reference points. I know that in physics there needs to be a truth and the same reference points, but on the other hand, it is important that we respect that different tastes are still there and don't close the book. Anyway, let's go back for you know, we could still live with a tube screamer in a way, and that's maybe one of the successful things about a tube screamer. It kind of focuses the sound, and it's something that a lot of people need as a spice in their setup, and therefore the tube screamer works on the clean sound or crunch sounds. I'm living in the Fender world now, cleanish. So let's go to overdrive. Okay, now. So the clean sound was okay. The overdrive has a certain character. It has that mid-range honk. Now let's go for the comparison with the distortion one. Versus the tube screamer. So now the distortion, the DS1 sounds so much fuller, so much bigger, so much more, you know, I'm a rock guitar player. Now this pedal shines, and this is where the value of that pedal is. Okay? Another example here, clean versus overdrive. Is it the Storm now? Yeah. So let's do clean. Does something. I think it's also nice. Okay, I need my boost here for the clean. Okay, this drives the volume a bit higher, harder. Let's be fair. So this is almost the same volume. It's pretty much, it's a touch more. So. Does something nice. I fills up. So let's do it with vintage overdrive. Very subtle. Let's give me a bit more level, because that's, you know, it's pre-compressed and now boosted. Yeah. I kind of like that. By the way, the hum is not coming, well, is it coming? It's coming from the setup. Too many pedals and not enough time to solve all the issues. I could compare this to the built-in boost just for fun. So we have Solo Dallas Storm. Built-in boost. That sounds also nice, in my opinion. And now there's another aspect we can compare. Volume on whatever, 5 or 4. Different, and that's the magic that I am very excited about when it comes to pedals. How do they sound on lower settings here? Let me show you. That's my Replex. That's the amp 1 boost. And here, to me, the Replex is magic because it's so big with Strat. Okay, that's my situation. Let's go back for the Storm. Versus the Replex. In my situation with my guitar, I still love that. Okay. Hey guys, do we have any questions at this point? I was demonstrating a few pedals. We can do a pedal show and I show you different boost pedals and even more boost pedals and what they are doing. But it is about all these subtle differences in the end. You have to understand maybe the categories of pedals. What we didn't have so far was the compressor in clean and overdrive. Let's do that before we move on. Okay, clean sound. The compressor, let me play now the lead lines. Bypass, no sustain. It's a shit Strat, okay? 1961, totally shit, no sustain Strat. Compressor. Ah, wait a minute. No, it's 4. So for me, I changed a little bit towards more output volume to have a slightly overdriven clean sound and a little bit less compression. So this is how I balance my sounds, and that's for me more fun because I think it's more expressive in general. It's still clean. For me, you know, that feels right. The compression is right. The expression is right because I get a few more overtones by digging in harder, and it's not like choked away from the compression that is Every time I punch in, the compressor is like, don't hit me hard. And this is like, it's just a touch. And that's what, you know, what we can learn from this is like how much of a certain spice can we apply to. As you could see with the distortion DS1 here, I have it all the way up. It's like maximum, and it sounds really good with that overdrive setting. It's like, is that logic? It's like I have an overdriven amp and I have an overdriven pedal, and I put them, and it's more is more. Well, there we go. Ingwie Malmsteen, he has the DOD 250, which is such a pedal, a slightly smoother version of that into his overdriven Marshall, and that's his magic tone. So all these pedals, all these boosters, to me is like the butter on the bread. If you have too much of it, like with the compressor, it's getting, no, it's more to get a rounder tone to compensate for what you are missing. And it has nothing to do if it's a shitty Strat or a cheap Strat or expensive Strat. Once you understand the cooking recipe or the power of the spices and how to use them, you can get pretty good tones out of a 300 euro Strat. Once you heard them in your head and you have the vision and you know how to dial them in. So I'm trying to make you more aware of the options we do have. And I'm also aware that I'm not able to show you everything here. It's just to get you inspired to try out things and maybe rethink a few things that you have achieved and come to the point where you think, I could try this, and then you get to the next level, or you are totally fine with what you've got and leave it there, and you have peace of mind because it's like you have found your tone already. When are you doing Replex under BluGuitar name? Well, it will be in the AmpX, and there is BluGuitar written on the AmpX. That's the answer. The diamond compressor sounds absolutely great. Yes, I do agree. And I do have other compressors. Wait a minute. I will show you in a sec. Da-da-da. Just for instance, there is a beautiful, again, Effectrode. Is it Effectrode? Yeah. Tube compressor. This way. There is a Carl Martin. I can put it here next. Compressor, which is a lot more studio-like. This way, okay. What, handmade by Eastern? Okay, it's an older one. This has like a studio-like quality, but honestly, I'm a fan of the yellow comp. The same circuitry you find in the Moore and in the Fender, in the green Fender. It's the same Chinese copy of this original now, and I couldn't find a big difference there, or any kind of difference that I would believe would be worth using this only. So I have the smaller version on my pedalboard. So while being here, let me show you a few pedals of some kind so we get a feel for it. With fuzzes, you probably know every fuzz is different. And the reason for that is the tolerances of the transistors being used is all over the place. And you have to find the one that you like. And also to find in the situation if you are working with more a cleaner amp or with a more saturated amp. Some fuzzes are fantastic in the saturation situation with the amp, when the amp is saturated, and don't sound good with a cleaner amp, and vice versa. This is what we heard with the Boss DS1. It can be very strange, and therefore sometimes you think, oh, this is a shit pedal. Well, it is a shit pedal in that situation. If you check it in other situations and it's still shit, then it's a shit pedal. But there are quite a few situations possible. Okay. So one topic could be, for instance, we had this fire bottle. Let's get rid of the Rangemaster and use that slot for other boosters. And I need more power supplies. Wait a minute, this is... that's the send. That is the return. And we need some kind of power. By the way, this is also something you can do yourself. If you have just a battery clip and one of those plugs for your thing, then you have a standard battery that you can plug into any of your pedals. It's sometimes very handy when you want to find if there's a hum problem coming from power supplies. Power supply is the most topic that we get when people have problems with their pedal boards. It's always the power supply, almost always, but 90%. So think about a power supply, and such a thing is, it's just a battery. So once this works, you can prove that it's not the power supply, or it is the power supply, because when it works with that battery and it doesn't work with it, or makes hum or strange kind of high frequency noises, it's the power supply, which is a thing. No. What is wrong? I have done so. Send. Return, maybe is it the other way around? Very strange. Something, maybe the cable is broken? That's weird. Is the voltage wrong? There is something, but not enough. Well, mind my words, it's always the power supply. Maybe not. This is not long enough. Scheiße. Okay. Okay, so this battery is gone. Not enough for this pedal here. For instance, this is a EP boost by Henrietta Engineering, US, I think, and it has a touch of gain, and it has a dark mode and a bright mode. And when I switch it off, that's the sound. Huh? To me, something comes alive. It's that little spice, and now I have more volume, which drives my amp harder, so I get a little bit of that extra clipping. Compare it to the Fire Bottle. Similar, but different elegance, I think. See, there's something cleanish going on here. So that's something. Yeah, just for fun, let's try a standard Spark TC, Spark EQ in that same slot. Oh, we can no. Let's try to put it here in the first slot. Okay, we remember that sound. Okay, I'm running out of power supplies. Maybe this one has a battery. Sometimes I use this with a battery. And it does. That comes very handy now. Too much gain. It's my clean tone, I don't want a boost, no mid boost. I want a bit more treble. Back to the Henrietta. Similar, but again different. Here's a pedal that I also kind of enjoy, Greer lightspeed. Now we are running out of 9 volts. Let's see if this has a battery. Maybe not. And it has a battery. Oh. So we are on slot number 1. So what I like about this pedal is put everything in the middle, and it's similar to bypass. Less drive. So this pedal is you can dialed it in almost identical. But what I like about this pedal is now you can have that subtle change in tone. Like I want a touch of gain, like give me some drive. Okay, this is like a boost. This is the Fire Bottle again. But the light speed here is, it's still closer to bypass. The warmth. I love this pedal, but I like this pedal too. So actually I'm reducing the drive of the pedal itself and have it more as a boost, and yeah. Yeah, just an example for a pedal that is a so-called transparent overdrive with subtle effects at hand. Yeah. The diamond compressor sounds absolutely great. Okay, that's the last comment. Any more comments at this point? Or are we all happy? Yeah, there's one little announcement for the guys. Since I was at Horst Keller last week, guitar teacher, for those who don't talk German, because I have done Bernd Kill's guitar, somehow I ended up being the guitar teacher lately. I still have my Guitar Summit English Blues Rock Masterclass, and they do a special for 79 euros for the Christmas season. If somebody is into, well, practicing or learning something in the holiday season. So go for Guitar Summit Academy and you can check out my English masterclass. That's something. And if some of the Germans or even others don't have the new record, this was my little advertising slot here. The Blue Grenfell Engelin vinyl and CD is back in stock. We were sold out at the tour, but we are, yeah, we have fresh delivery. Not bad. So Lucas, do we have any more comments here? No comments. So is everybody happy? Did you learn about the frequency? Yes. Did we learn about clipping? Yes. Did we learn about compression? Yes. Did we learn how these three parameters affect your tone? I hope so. Now it's on you to try out these spices in your setup, and there is always a little bit that you can experience, and you have to try, you have to taste. It's like, you know, the same, if you have 5 times the same dish, the same spaghetti or whatever you eat, there is a better one, maybe or maybe not. And therefore you have to do the A-B comparisons with fuzzes, with buffers, with boosters. And here, just look at my my Rangemaster collection. It's I bought them because I like them all. I could not. It's not like that's the only one you need. No, I like this better over this for this. They all have their place and they're all magic, and they touch me because they do something that I really did enjoy, and therefore I needed to buy them. I could not live without them, so I bought them. And this is how you end up getting more stuff. But I'm at a phase where I think what's really interesting to me I have at hand. And sometimes I have friends that have things that I don't have, but I know where I can find the stuff. I see a comment here by Giffy Moroda. I modded the DS1 this year by a capacitor to take some sharpness away when playing with my Marshall. Well, of course, you know, when you look at boutique pedal manufacturers, what are they doing? They have some of those very old designs and do mods. I mean, if you have a little bit experienced, you can do it yourself. And if not, you buy one of those that do what you need. But it's good to experiment. So, you know, when I was younger, I didn't understand how you get a Vox AC30 Queen sound. I bought a Vox AC30 and I never got there until I found the Rangemaster. And then I understood, this is the recipe. You need this ingredient and that ingredient, and both together make the magic. And there are these combinations. And, you know, Satriani, why without that pedal, it's a good starting point to get there. Maybe they use different things and their amps are modded towards this kind of thing these days. But when you go back at the very beginning of these guys, you can find the recipe. It's like Blackmore and the Rangemaster. It's without that pedal, he would play totally differently and probably would have quit because it's not him. So there's a little bit more going on. He says the favorite is the OD3. I have a OD1, I have a I don't know, OD3? I have to check. Yeah. Carsten says you should build a monitor wedge for guitar players which are active because they kills all the fine sounds. Yeah, I tell you the story about the full range flat response cabinets. It's on my list, but a little bit later. Things sometimes take a long time. Dauern sehr lang. I'm thinking German again. The next thing we are doing is this kind of NanoCap Neo Pro, and then there's more. And this kind of wedge thing is something I can look into once I have a really good solution on the full range things. But that's a year ahead at least. But I'm doing experiments every day on different. So what is going about amp1 direct out frequency curve with or without speaker connected? I like to see that versus Blue Box. Okay, you know what? I make it very short. If you know what this is, it's the Palmer sound. And that was at least one of my references for the amp1 record out, direct out. it's supposed to be Bonamata's secret weapon, blah, 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 blah. From all the passive DI boxes, this I think is one of the best. And what I have done here, started with this with a slightly different tweaking. The frequency curve of a blue box is very, very more defined, and therefore with the IR technology used on the blue box, you have a very much more complex curve. Both things have their quality. If you're just using a blue box like I do now, it's the most realistic sound. On the other hand, some people like to combine signals, like you have a microphone and you want to add some like punch that you don't get from your microphone. Then the direct out of the amp1 does a fantastic job, because you get something different from that proper mic'd cabinet, but still within that range, not as subtle, defined and stuff. It is a nice signal, and it's all analog, which means it's in phase with your microphone once you place the microphone close to the speaker. Of course, you have to understand to make that. Once you move it away, you get latency and then the whole things. But what was the question? The frequency curve. The frequency curve changes when the speaker is connected or not, because there is the interaction due to the current feedback we have on amp1, and it's even a lot more on the amp1 Iridium edition, as this is a different power amp current feedback design versus the Mercury. Mercury already reacts to the speaker, which is great. Therefore, I prefer it with the speaker connected. There's something happening that is just good. And for me personally, it works fine, because my speaker can be used on stage, or yeah, it does not matter how loud I play. It's just the extra 3% that I enjoy. What was more questions here? My used Voxer AC30 I once owned smelled more like a ballroom from cigarettes. Yeah, sounded good. A lot of hum and whiskey cola stains everywhere. The thing about AC30s is they are Class A or nearly Class A amplifiers, so they run at a lot of power all the time, and this creates a lot of heat, and that heat dries out the L caps of the power supply, and that ends up in hum. So my AC30, which is currently at the company in the office, is also maintenance maybe twice in its life, because of the hum that you get from the dried up capacitors. Hey, one more aspect about Class A and power. Just to mention, a tube amp, one of those Marshalls, they consume at least 180 or 150 watts, sometimes even 300 AC30. Maybe, I have to measure, but a lot when they are plugged in, and it does not matter how loud you play. And well, that's getting some electricity on your bill. Amp1, 13, 14 watts, and only when you crank them to like gigging volume takes 50 watts. Of course, it can produce 100 and peaks more, but then this is incredibly loud. Nobody uses it like that. If you play the stage or the stadium volume like Master on 8, then you have 200 watts or 250 watts even consumption. But modern technology at the standard level at home, we should get an award on low power consumption, low current. Very economic and environmentally friendly device. Energy saving builds. So we can make the calculation how how much more free money you have to buy more pedals. Okay, yeah. Okay, guys, I think that's my message for today. Thanks for joining in. Next week, is it the 18th already? Okay, next week we have a super special coming from the office. We do a Christmas special with all the guys from the companies and some nice surprises. We have Georgie coming, who plays for the Germans with Gildo Horn. Gildo Horn is a bizarre guy, I would say, and he is currently on tour with the Christmas program with Gildo Horn and die orthopädischen Strümpfe. Don't try to translate it, but he is coming, and another friend of mine is coming, Roland Helm, who is a singer-songwriter who lived in the US, was the head of the local radio here. I mean, we are talking Saarländischer Rundfunk. And yeah, so we have a very colorful mixture of people, Valeska, Julian, and maybe we get a little stupid and drink Glühwein, or let's see what we're doing. Maybe we invite our dog as well and see if the Christmas tree survives. So I'm looking forward for this slightly different episode. And for those Germans who want to see me, the gig of the week, there's actually two. One is tomorrow, but I think this is a private. This is at the Flughafen at the airport, Saarbrücken. So Saarbrücken is a small city, and we do have our own airport. And this is where I will play tomorrow night. But I think that's just not public. No, Saturday is Tettnang, Bodensee, Lake Constant. And we played the summer festival, as we always do every year. And in December, we play there in the Flieger, which is the cool club that started it all. And yeah, so if you want to hear the Rock Anarchy live, this is Saturday, Flieger Tettnang. Tettnang is the village or the town. I think it's the town. Yeah, and it's the old train station there. They changed it into a venue, and we do that summer festival like every year. We had Andreas Kümmert this year with Svenja Schmidt. Last year we had Ronnie Romero. So yeah. We also want to see Lucas in front of the Xmas cam. Yeah, I mean, probably it's easier in the office. There's a bit more room than in the studio here, so we can get him alive. Maybe he can try the Glühwein or whatever. Yeah, so this is anything I forgot about? No. So tune in next week. Wait, Lucas has something. What's going on? Write it. And we have another thing that we want to do between Christmas and New Year, which is there's 238 episodes of Academy of Tone with intro songs and sometimes outro songs and whatnot. And we came to the point where we decided that we want to have a full clip of all the songs. And there are so many, so we have to make different episodes. So I thought about we should categorize them into blues, into classic rock, into modern rock, into metal and pop as categories. So the first question is this fine with you? I guess so. But the bigger question is, shall we simply play the music, take those, so you can put them while you are working? This is something Julian also does in the office. He plays some music and there is no announcement, nobody is talking, it's just music that he listens to. Or shall we do the radio format, where I tell a little bit about the song and whatever background story, not too much, I'm not into the blah 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 too much, but maybe make an announcement of a few songs and let you know a little bit about the background of the song, or maybe tell a story, or but every 3 songs or every 5 songs, something like that. So please let us know if you would prefer the only music for the episodes between Christmas and New Year. There will be 2 episodes we will put together, or if you like a little bit of announcements at the beginning and between a few songs. I just want to know. So I'm happy to do it, but I'm also happy not to do it. Anyway, let us know in the comments, and see you guys next week, same time, same place, and me or us in a different place, which will be at the headquarters in my office, because that's the biggest room. I will clean it a little bit, maybe. It's hopefully cleaner than the guitar. Anyway, cheers guys, take care, see you next week, bye bye.